In this video, we're going to take a look at how to sculpt a character bust from this generic head mesh. It's available with the support files on the DVD. So to begin, I'm going to polygroup this bust so I can easily isolate the ears and the mouth. Now, the mouth I don't necessarily need to polygroup anymore because there is this new brush masking technique. If I go to the Move brush, go to the brush menu here and go to auto masking, there is a mask here called topological, which allows me to grab, you can see it's grabbing the upper and the lower lip at this point. If I turn my range down, it's only going to grab the bottom lip. It's not going to move the upper lip. I need to turn that up a little bit from that 0.1 value there. Let's do 0.3, see how that works. And let's change it to 0.3. There we go. There we go. So you can see that this only grabs the bottom lip and leaves the top lip unaffected. I find it a little bit more convenient to actually just go ahead and polygroup the lower jaw. That way I can move it, mask it, and access it as necessary. I'll also use this masking technique here, the topological masking. You just want to make sure that you keep your range pretty low, otherwise it's going to still grab. Here this is set to 0.5, and that's actually a much better setting. And you see that it's grabbing the lower lip, but not the upper lip. Now if I were to turn off topological masking, you'll see it's grabbing both the upper and the lower lip. So I will still make use of that, but I'm going to go ahead and show you how to polygroup the lower lip as well, just because I find it to be a faster way to work still. The ears I want to be able to polygroup so I can do things like stretching them out without pulling the faces directly behind them on the head. So what we'll do is we'll go to the brush menu and we will select our select lasso. And what that's going to do, it's going to allow us to hold down Control and Shift and then draw a selection marquee. If I press the Alt key, it'll hide everything that was within that marquee. Zoom in here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Transform menu and I'm going to turn on Point Select. Point Select is right here. And what that allows me to do is if I draw a marquee around a single point of any face, it's going to hide that particular face. So it just makes it easier to very quickly go in here and hide the faces we're trying to hide. So here we go. I've got the ears isolated now. I'll go to the Polygroups menu and click Group Visible. Now I'm going to hide this ring going around the ear. Because I had X symmetry turned on, you'll see that it mirrored over to the other side as well. Those same faces are hidden on this ear. So now if I click Group Visible, I've polygrouped the ears and the ring around the ears. So what this allows me to do is if I Control-Shift-Click on the ear, I can Control-Click to mask them, Control-Shift-Click to reveal all again, and just Control-Click to invert the mask. Now you can see I can very easily manipulate just the ear and not affect the rest of the head. I can also, there we go, because I've got a mask that's actually blending off into this ring going around the ear, I can further isolate the ear from the head. I can also move the ears away from the head. I can rotate them out to give more of a rotation or a flare to the ears here. And this is all by virtue of the fact that we've got this polygrouping going on around the ear. We're able to easily move around and isolate these things and select and mask just the parts we want to work on. So now how do we isolate the lower lip so we can easily just move the jaw and move the mouth around? Well, what we want to do is we want to store a morph target. Under Tool, Morph Target, we'll click Store MT. That stores a copy of the mesh in memory. So now if I were to smooth the mouth open, I can now very easily drag one of these show marquees here around the lower jaw, and now I can group visible. Now the problem is I've changed the shape of the mouth, so how do we get back around that? Well, since I stored a copy of the mesh in memory with my morph target, if I just click switch, it brings it back. So now if I Control-Shift-click on the lower jaw, I can mask it, invert that mask, and now I can very easily move this jaw around. And I don't have to go up here to my brush menu, turn on topological masking, and change the settings. That's a very valuable way to work, to use the topological masking, but I find for just making big changes to the jaw and to the mouth area, I find it's just faster still for me to use this masking technique. It's just a matter of personal preference. But I will stress again that you do have the ability to go to the brush, topological masking menu, turn that on. I've got the range set to 0.5, and now I can very easily grab the lower lip and move it around, or the lower jaw. As you can see, it's isolating it from the rest of the head. So both are valid ways of working. I just have so much time invested in using this particular technique. It's very natural for me to just go ahead and isolate things using the mask like this. I also find another benefit of it is that if I'm using a mask like this, I can actually feather the radius of effect, which is very simple to do just by control-clicking and feathering the mask. Otherwise, I'd have to go up to the topological masking menu and I'd have to change my smooth and my range sliders here to get that same smoothing effect. So I encourage you to experiment with both. Both methods are valuable. Both have their strengths. I am a little bit biased for this particular technique, just because it's something that I'm used to using, and that's why I'm showing it in the video. I want you to have the tools to use both approaches. So our head is now actually prepped to sculpt on. We're ready to go ahead and use this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and save the Z tool. And now let's go ahead and start sculpting. I'll begin by adding a couple subdivision levels. And I'm just going to use the move brush to actually shift some stuff around here. I think I'm going to go to my brush menu and make sure that I turn off that topological masking. I want to spread the eyes out. That's the first thing I want to do, is I want to get these eyes spaced further apart, because I want to change the comfort level of looking at the face. I want something to immediately register as being fundamentally monstrous or wrong with this character, and that's gonna a really easy way of doing that is to break the triangle of the facial proportions, get those eyes, further out, raise them up, change the relationship between the nose and the mouth. Things like that just fundamentally mess with people's perceptions and create an unsettling character. So the eye widening is a great thing because it's just not something that's possible to do on a human. You have to, if you're doing that on a film, you have to do digital eye widening to make that work once you start spreading the eyes past a certain point. It was used to great effect in films like 30 Days of Night, the vampires in that, they used digital eye widening in there, and it was really quite cool. So I'm using the clay tubes brush right now just to rough in some sort of form here. And I am really sketching at this point. I have no idea exactly what I'm going to do. I have a general idea, but I'm just experimenting creating forms right now. I know I want my cheekbones come up like this, and I'm going to move my ears up. Step down. Let's feather that. Unmask this area, and I want to raise these ears. I'm going to the move brush. I want to raise these ears up. Turning on perspective. And going back to the clay tubes brush and just thinking about this bone structure Using the move brush to change the shape of the nose here. And here I'm isolating the jaw using that mask and bringing the jaw down.